Com. It's 2 in the morning on the East Coast of the United States. I have no idea what time it is down and under, but it is time for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Hey, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mecky.
That's the truth. And this is Shiny Side Out, broadcasting from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. And that's the home to fresh ideas. It's also the website name. Buy some merchandise or donate if you like anything we say. Join us in the chat room. That reminds me, I need to get into the chat room.
Yes, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's just do that. There you go.
I'm in the chat room. Look at that. I thought I was, but I wasn't. This is show number 679.
970 and 600.
That's absolutely correct. You can tune into us online on your smart device directly via an app or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. That's as much as Australian as I can get. If you miss Iris' show, it's alright. We've got the archives at the station. You can catch up. Tonight she had Dave Sheldon, and he's my guest from Road to Ruins. Ooh. If that makes you think, jump into the archives. It's free. And you can catch up with her shows, our shows, and all the host shows for that matter. It's easy to catch up. Mecky, I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country today.
And I'm in Darak country.
Yes, and that's where I leave the intro now. Hey, Mecky, how crazy is this weather?
Summer is not just summer, but summer at its height is back up at 40 degrees here where I am.
That's nuts for March, isn't it?
Oh, it is unusual. It's not unprecedented, but it's unusual.
Uh-huh.
And it's been hot for the last 3 days, and then tomorrow it's going to be 22 degrees, and then and again at the end of the week it's hitting the 30s again. So it's yo-yoing just slightly.
Yo-yo ma? No, I don't think so. So yes, you're right. When I said how crazy is the weather, what I mean truly is I think the unpredictability of weather is really bad. It's bad for, let's call it farming. Why not? You could just, sourcing food is another thing. But everything relies on it. All of nature relies on being stable weather patterns. It relies, the plants themselves can detect the amount of sunlight in the air, in the environment, and they behave differently. They can detect the amount of water, dryness they react to, but they're capable of a little more than we thought. So as the sunlight wanes towards winter, they go through, let's call it a metabolic change, and behave differently in order to be able to survive through the winter. Humans, on the other hand, are one of the only creatures on Earth that requires shelter. One of the only few. We can't deal with the amount of sunlight that there is, certainly these days. We need coverings. We need to protect ourselves from this awful sun. It's almost like we were visitors or placed here. Maybe this is a zoo. There's a lot of people talking about, that's a terrible statement. There are corners of the internet where people discuss this, that this isn't our planet, that we were put here. Now, I disagree with with the way that they present this. I'm under, a strong belief that the Sumerians talked about the Anunnaki created us. That's how I see the planet. I know that over time there's been changes to our climate, that's a different thing, but also the amount of UV radiation from the sun that hits the surface of the planet. Now, my only segue here, Mackie, was to talk about how it's changed and it's continuing to change. Human related or not is not a part of my conversation. Just acknowledging that it is changing is the first step. It's like the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. You have to first admit that you have a problem. We have to admit to ourselves that it is changing. I find that dinosaurs, Mickey, not the dinosaurs from millions of years ago, but the people who are before, they said boomers and older, refuse to believe that there's anything new. All the changes seem to have happened after they'd cemented themselves into the belief already that there is no problem. And so every single core of their being, every fibre of their being, will fight against any news that there's anything different. Oh, it rains. Oh, geez, it's raining a lot. Oh, we've had, the worst floods ever. It always rains. And it's kind of watering down to their own psyche the inputs that they've got. This is the hottest year on the planet so far since records began. Oh, it's always been hot, says that generation. It's always rained, it's always been hot, it's always been floods. We've always had big tides. Great. Yeah. So is there anyone else in that little brain of yours that I can talk to? Is there? Because this, I'm not getting much through to this one. But saying that, it is an unusual event for us to have such high temperatures this far away from our proximity to the sun, because we're coming back further away from the sun. In Australia, for those who don't know, the Earth's orbit is elliptical, and it just happens that the southern hemisphere's summer is we are closer to the sun, and the northern hemisphere's summer you're further away from the sun. Minute in the scheme of things. Minute, who cares? Million miles. What's a million miles between friends? But it does affect the amount of kilojoules of energy on the Earth's surface, because distance, you have the energy output divided by the distance. It's a square of the distance. So the further you get away, there's a square of the reduction in energy per surface area. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. This summer period, I know, Mickey, because my birthday's coming up in 2 weeks' time, right?
It sure is.
Yes. So it's coming up, and all of my life, 50-something years, it's my living memory, I've had storms there or on about, and it's been hot and held itself till pretty much my birthday. Few times has it been, a beautiful autumn day, but because I know from when I've celebrated my birthday, and I've been out, especially when I was a kid, out with my friends, thunderstorms are still a thing, and the mayhem that ensued brought stories discussed over the dinner table about, do you remember the time when? And I love those. I don't have those anymore, and I've only one parent left, and his memory is good, but I don't get, when I did spend time with him, as you know, chat, as you know, it was great to be able to see him at this point, certainly in his life and mine. You know, that point in which you're able to reflect more. You've got a wealth of information under your belt. You're not it's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's just two people here on this godforsaken rock going around the sun. Do you know what I mean? In all of the things that we've both been through, we're just two people on a ride. And I thought that was really nice. It was a nice way to think about it. But once again, it highlighted everything I've just said about not remembering things and dismissing things you hear. I think it was worth mentioning this, and I think because being I'm self-professed commentator on the world and world events. My dad was back in the day. He really was. He was talking. He had some friends. They were talking about UFOs. They were talking about government mischief. All the times of the day, all of the wealthy people, all the scientific things that were happening. They were talking about all these things. I never heard any of it, but they were talking about it in their circles. And he said to me, "You know today what we knew then."
Mm-hmm.
But there's a twist on it now, right? And it's kind of a little different. They're different billionaires or millionaires now. The wealth has changed. The set has changed. The government shenanigans is just in a different flavour. Headstrong in what they're doing, whatever they're doing, either for themselves, their own benefit. Is it for the country? Is it for the WEF? What is it for? And we have a whole new round of questions to ask, to examine our news inputs. I think it's extraordinary. It is. I'm actually thankful that Mecki and I have this relationship, and that we have this platform in order to be able to talk about these things. Yes, Mecki and I disagree about a few things, and it's okay. We're allowed to, aren't you? You guys.
How boring
would it be? Yeah, exactly.
Like, yes. Also, yes.
That was very funny, and also yes. So how about you, Mecki? What's going on?
Oh, look, apart from the heat, it's all good. Just craziness. Work-wise, you know what it's like. Crazy corporate world.
I've heard.
But it's not as it really isn't. And I mean this. It's not as crazy as whatever happens in the States right now. I think it's just hilarious. I look at it and I go, yeah, okay, guys, you just keep on doing what you're doing. just I don't know what to make of these guys. I mean, I don't see anything but not World War III, but a civil war. Well, there might be World War III coming afterwards, but all the things that are happening, right? All the craziness and all the shenanigans, and it's not Democrat about Republican at all. It's not to do with that. What it will be the half little and have nots versus have everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're moving to, okay? And if you think we're not, you just wait to see what those tax cuts going to do for you, that are being much touted now in the States. My suspicion is not a lot. They're not going to do a lot for you.
Well, I'm jealous that they get some kind of tax cut or benefit or something, because we're getting I don't know, rogered? Is that a word I can use?
Look,
in Australia, it's a good one.
In Australia, we're actually not too. Honestly, it's actually not too shabby. It's not too bad. We are a lot less people. We should be a lot wealthier than we are, but it's mismanagement, and we've talked about that separately somewhere else. But truly, I look at all the things that are happening. The American economy is strongish, but it relies heavily on the military-industrial complex, and it relies heavily on international trade. It does. It just does. Okay, it's just the way it's been over the last 80 years. To all of a sudden change the game, like I said before, I think it's a great idea to bring manufacturing back. I wish Australia brought manufacturing back. I really do. Right? I mean, I think that's fantastic because I mean, the only people that benefit, no, that's not entirely true, but the people that get the most benefit from it are the corporate overlords. You know, cheap labor, massive profits, massive. I mean, you can't even imagine how staggering these profits are if you can produce in a cheap country, right? We have completely forgotten why we're here in capitalism. And let me just explain to you what I mean. What we should be concerned with is all of us living a good life, okay? Being part of a community, enjoying what we do, hopefully raising a family if that's your thing, right? Being engaged in work that is meaningful to you, right? And also good for the society that you're in. Sure. Trade can be a part of it, but we've gone so far. We've gone as far with globalization as we have gone with DIY, whatever the
DEI.
The inclusion stuff, right? In fact, with globalism, we've gone further than DEI, much further. Because that pendulum on DEI obviously have started swinging back now, right? But with globalism, we're still caught up in it. We're still thinking it's a great idea. We still think capitalism works. I got news for you. Capitalism doesn't work. If it did, 2008 wouldn't have happened. But if it had happened anyway, then it would have self-corrected without any government intervention, if capitalism works. So it didn't, and it didn't self-correct, and the people that were responsible got big bonuses, while millions of people lost their homes. That's the death knell. That's, ding, ding, ding,
like
capitalism is dead.
The people with all the money.
We're done now, capitalism. This is not something else. Call it whatever you like. Varoufakis, Yanis Varoufakis, he calls it techno-feudalism. I call it corporate fascism, because that's what it is. Now, he's a bit double-dutching it maybe with corporate fascism, because fascism is ultimately corporate. But we are living in a post-capitalist society. If you think you're not, you really should pick up a book once in a while. And it's terrible. It's terrible, and it is now so obvious, right? Look, does Donald Trump have good ideas? Believe it or not, I honestly think that a lot of the things that this current administration wants to do, they're good things. I really do. The way they go about it is completely harebrained. The thing that Donald Trump wants to achieve in 4 years, or faster, I guess, by his timetable, would take 10 to 20 years to achieve. You can't stop the global machine without any serious consequences. I mean, serious consequences, right? If you put a spanner into the machine, or a wooden shoe, which was called in France a sabot, that's right, S-A-B-O-T, hence the word sabotage, because the workers threw their wooden shoes into the machines to break them, essentially, right? And that was their answer to industrialism. Let's throw our wooden shoes in the machine. That's what's happening here. We're throwing a whole bunch of wooden shoes into the machine, and it'll catastrophically stop. And tariffs and world trade, moving production centers back onshore, be it in Europe, United States, Canada, Australia, it doesn't really matter, but first world countries, right, where wages are relatively high. It's almost impossible to imagine a world that doesn't need to be completely rewritten if you want to do that. Okay? And you're going to face some serious resistance along the way. A lot of people are going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to get very angry. And I mean very angry. I'm not talking about the parasites. They love it. This is great for the parasites. And even the billionaires, for the most part, they don't really care that much, I don't think. They're going to be okay. But I still want to see, if all of Elon Musk's cars are going to be made in America. I want to see if all of the Apple computers are going to be made in the United States again. Yeah, I want to see if all the server farms and all the support is going to be for Google and Amazon in America. In America, no more call centers, no more offshore support, none of that. Okay, everything in America, right?
You could AI that stuff now. I'm not saying that people should, but you could.
Look, there's a lot you could do.
It doesn't have to be anywhere, really.
Yeah,
but I like the data center call.
Yeah, well, the data centers have to be somewhere physical.
That's
they have
right.
to be. It's just, and there are still people required to build data centers and to maintain data centers.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much automation that you can put into it. Only so many fail safes. There will still be human interaction in anything we do. It's just a fail safe because we haven't quite reached, and I don't think we ever will.
What trust of the AI?
No, not so much trust. It's not trust. It's just whether or not it works.
Yeah.
No, but will it work? And the answer is, well, maybe, hopefully, but look, there have been people killed by self-driven cars. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there are things that go wrong all the time with automation or when there's no human interaction, right? So you must have human interaction. Just from an insurance point of view. If you can't show that your thing is safe and it's got safeguards and fail-safes and plan Bs and redundancies and there's a person there watching it, I don't think you can get insurance, all right? That's my opinion. So it's really difficult to get all of that through, and it's more difficult than the transition from horse and buggy to car, because all the cars needed, really. I mean, the roads were already there, quite a few roads for the horse and buggy. You just had to make them better. You needed to deploy petrol stations, okay, so you could refill, your car and go places. Those are things that, kind of grew after. And then the whole society in the world almost changed to accommodate cars.
Do you remember, Mekki, when you had a grate at your front door that you scraped the bottom of your shoes with?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember those grates? It wasn't a mat. It wasn't a mat.
No, it was a grate. Yeah,
it was
a horse
to get rid of the horse poop. Yeah.
Well, I grew up in a village, and literally at the end of my street there was a guy that had cows and chickens and pigs, right? So those grates actually they were still in existence there. A lot of them had been overlaid with just a mat, like a welcome mat, but underneath the older houses I'm talking about, they still had those grates.
Yeah, because we had one at our front door.
Yeah, it made sense. And not just grates, but also these were like usually iron or something.
Yeah, shoe scraping things.
Yeah, they were sort of like little, not like an easel, but kind of like a thing that sort of protruded at the bottom of the door or the house or the wall, and you could just clean your. I mean, that's why we had mud rooms.
Yeah, that's right.
Day. And that's why I want a house with a mud room, right? A mud room is essentially a house where you leave all your shoes and all that. Anyway. Yeah, so we are now looking at a world that has to be completely reimagined if Donald Trump gets his way. And again, I look. There's one thing I was going to mention here, right? The renaming of things, right? There's a lot of people, a lot of funny memes. The turkey's going to be named chicken, and then if they don't like it, if they have a beef with it, we'll call it beef. So like there are a lot of funny things, going around like that. And I think people don't understand why it was called the Gulf of Mexico. Now, do you know, Dave, why it was called the Gulf of Mexico? You don't know?
No, I don't.
Okay. So the entire land around that particular crater, it's actually a crater from a meteorite impact. It's like this huge crater that went in there, right? The entire land, Texas, New Mexico, that was all Mexico. It was all Mexico. So the land surrounding this little gulf was all Mexico. That's why it was called the Gulf of Mexico. Then, after a few wars and a few buybacks from the Americans, or purchases like the Texas Mexico and a whole bunch of stuff, that land changed hands. Like I said, either through commercial means or through war. So only half of it is now really surrounded by Mexico. The other half is surrounded by the United States of America. But initially, it was all Mexico around that particular gulf. Right? That's why it was called the Gulf of Mexico. There you go, a little bit of history for you guys. But there was a reason for it. It wasn't just arbitrary, there was, and now it's, you can argue it's half, so it's maybe one half. Maybe it should be called the Gulf of Mexico or Amerigo or something.
The half Gulf of Mexico.
The half Gulf of America and the half Gulf of Mexico.
There you go.
But it makes no sense to do these things, right? But again, whatever. Do like what you like. I mean, we've had similar things though in Australia, Dave. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
Uluru used to be called Ayers Rock.
That's
right. Why? Because that's what the white people called it. Okay? But the actual name was Uluru. Now, in recent times, when people became more sensitive and wanted to do the right thing, etc., that, maybe we shouldn't call it, maybe it's, well, the custodians of the land, which are the original people that had it, looking after it, they called it Uluru. Maybe we should be respectful and call it Uluru as well. So now, of course, it is called Uluru. No longer Ayers Rock.
Well, it's funny, Becky, because I live in a town which is an Aboriginal word.
So am I.
Yeah.
Pemulwuy. Narara.
Narara. That's black snake, it means. Yeah.
Well, Pemulwuy, see, this is how far we've come. So Pemulwuy was a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
This warrior was actually a warrior. He didn't like the white people a lot. So what he did, he killed the gameskeeper of, I want to say, Macquarie? Whoever the governor, I think it was Governor Macquarie, I could be wrong there, right? But he killed the gameskeeper for one of the governors. Now I'm going to say Governor Macquarie. And they found him, and then they chopped his head off. Pemulwuy, the guy. And, so clearly an enemy of the state, a terrorist, you might say, back then.
Mm-hmm.
But now we are naming a suburb after him. Right? So that's my point is that's how far as a nation Australia has come, I guess. It's sort of trying to integrate all the what's the trauma? Let's call it the trauma.
Yeah.
All the trauma and all the bad blood and all the things that were done wrong, of the past 250 years. So that's it.
I've got something to add to that. So Bennelong Point. People from other lands might not be familiar with it, and it's where the Sydney Opera House is. It was a tram, like, what do they call it? Siding, where all the trams would go at night time to rest because there was no one to commute on them. The tram sheds. Well, that's what was there prior to that. But before that, there's this little prominence near the Harbour Bridge, but the Harbour Bridge didn't exist in Sydney Harbour. This little prominence, and there you have it. Except the naming of the place was based on an Aboriginal saying a word whenever questioned. They repeated the same word, and they were being held by the police and accused of wrongdoing, and they kept saying this word. The Aboriginal kept repeating this word over and over, believing it to be their name, but it wasn't. It was an Aboriginal expression, which is equivalent to it was the other person. The other person, that you've got me in custody, but it was the other person, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the origin is of it, and it's stayed with us. It was recently found a couple of years back now, before COVID. There was some research done, and they discovered that was the actual origin of the word, and then everyone kind of looked at each other like with side eye. Can we change it? No, shut up. All right, don't say anything. And so it went nowhere. It's still Bennelong and Bennelong Point, where the Sydney Opera House is. But it stands now for much more than simply an opera house. The symbol that we use to advertise our current beliefs, we use it from time to time to project onto the sails pertinent stories of the day. I don't mean news, but I mean heartfelt, emotional connection to country. It's really interesting the way that we're using this beautiful world-renowned landmark. but just extraordinary. So part of you should do your research before you name something. Woy Woy is a town near me, and it actually means deep water. And as an Australian, not a traditional custodian land, there is a question that we don't know which of the two words that are identical means deep and which one means water. It's kind of a joke. We're not being critical so much, but rather making light of the fact that it's two identical words, but it means deep water. We have a town called Wagga Wagga in New South Wales as well. And once you've used the term Wagga Wagga, it's two separate words, you're then allowed to drop one of them and only call it Wagga. W-A-G-G-A. Isn't that extraordinary? But you can't do that with Woy. You can't say, it's always referred to as Woy Woy. Mm-hmm. You can't reduce it to Woy. Some people say Woy squared, which I think is interesting.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's the truth. But there was an old comedian that said Newcastle is an Aboriginal word for long drive from Sydney. See, that's funny. That's funny right there. I don't care who you are. So that's not. It's an English word from an English town, and when the English came here, they named everything that kind of looked like what they remembered.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. I mean, coal, Newcastle, right?
That's right.
And it happens to have coal here, believe it or not.
Yeah.
That made kind of sense for them.
Sorry about the lesson.
No, but look, but the thing is this, right? We are certainly in a state of flux, and I only mentioned the renaming because it serves no purpose. Absolutely none. It's just an attention grabber. Hey, look, there's some activity. We renamed it because I can. Why did you do it? Because I can. Now, I'm willing to take bets here. And anyone wants to bet me in the chat room or whatever. How long it'll last until the next president comes in, if there's another president after Trump, that is, of course. And before the Gulf of Mexico is called Gulf of Mexico again. Even in America.
Oh, I see. Flip it back. Do you know what, Mickey? I noticed something this week, and that is, since America has pulled away from supporting the, what's it called? Not BRICS, not EU, the other one, NATO.
NATO, yeah.
Right, okay. NATO. So, since it's pulled away from supporting NATO, did you know that the European defence spending that it's gone up has actually raised the stock of all of those related industries? Like it's a boon for the European manufacturing of weapons. 100%. Like I don't know. This isn't financial advice. Hang on, I'm going to flash the warning. So what I've observed is news stories and then the actual stock of those companies, which I'm not going to put on the screen, but they've all risen with this expectation that they're going to now have all these countries that require spending on their own. It's not about the NATO membership, but they were all relying very heavily on US military support, and the US has gone, good luck with that. It's your own bag. It's not even our country. Yeah. So you got to look after yourself, and they go, ooh, and they're all worrying. It's like Australia. Australia, I think, this little brother position, the lapdog position for the US, where we have an agreement that if we're attacked, the US will help, and anything the US does, we will assist in. That's our agreement. But I'm not sure how long that will hold on. It's only how long until Trump finds out that is in place to then go, well, we're not helping. We're not going to help. See, if it were me, I would surround this country with missile placements. I would. Totally. Where's the money come from? I don't know. Just make it up. I don't know how we would achieve it, but that's what I'd be doing rather than asking another country to help. Because it could be, at the very moment when you absolutely need them, they're too busy.
Well, yeah.
Have you ever had to get a friend to help you move house? This is to chat, right? Have you ever tried? You ring them up, oh yeah, I'll help. And then when you actually need them, they're not available. And you know which friends are the best friends you've got in the whole world, who are the kindest, reciprocal kind of people, friendship that you can ever have. They're the people who actually assist you. But if they wait, here's the joke. If they get to your house and you say, oh, thanks very much, I've got an appointment, and you leave and there's nothing in boxes, yeah, I think you got the wrong friends. If you're the people who show up, I'm not doing all your work for you.
Yeah, that's not what should happen. Though the chutzpah, the sheer gall of it, if you were to do that, I mean, you got to pay that. I'm going to say, wow, you really think I'm an idiot, don't you? There's no hiding anymore. That's what you think of me. You think I'm a moron.
This tar is making me dizzy. Yeah, I'll do that.
You know how it is. That's what? This doesn't seem like the thing to do. I tell you what. No, look, seriously.
Yep.
This is just crazy talk now. But yeah, so
the world has honestly gone mad. You didn't have it on your bingo card. I didn't either. Like 2025 bingo card. I had none of this. I didn't have the new COVID either, because there's a new COVID apparently. I didn't have that. I didn't have, the Elon Musk Starship continuing to have problems with its module. I didn't have that so far. I didn't have. I sent you the video of it on X, but I know you don't have an X account. But I think you can watch it without the account. Someone made a Midwest used car salesman ad out of that display, out of the
But Donald and Musk on the White House lawn.
Yeah, they totally made an ad out of it. It's hilarious.
Oh, it's an ad. It is an ad.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not like what? Let's do something outrageous. Let's make an ad out of it. It's a freaking ad. It's like, I mean, what? But no, honestly though, I should have, because Donald Trump is completely transactional. Now, that's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just what it is. Right? I'm not putting the guy down, but he's completely transactional, and everything he does, he sees as trying to make a deal. And the thing is, he plays a zero-sum game, meaning if he doesn't win, okay, and significantly more than the other person, he loses. That's the way he sees the world, okay? If you know that, you will understand him a lot better. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just how he operates. When he does these things, right? Because obviously Elon Musk did something for him. I've got another theory on that as well, which I'll share with you, at some other point. But Elon did something for him, so he's doing something for Elon. That's the way he sees it. Okay, he's not trying to be deliberately disrespectful to the office of president, or I really don't think it even occurs to him that what he's doing is undignified if you're president, right? Mm-hmm. He's just returning a favor that was given to him. In his world, well, that's how the world works. You just do these things. If someone does you a solid, then you do them a solid back. It's just, it's business, right? Well, except no, it's not, because you're the president of the United States.
Oh, fat Tony.
And you kind of a garage sale on the White House lawn. I'm sorry, brother. That's a bad idea. But maybe I'm small-minded. Maybe I need to change. Maybe it's me. Right? Maybe I'm the one with the problem. And
it's not you.
To be honest, I don't actually have a problem with it at all.
Actually,
to be honest,
Uh-huh.
because I expect nothing from Donald Trump except trying to make a deal. That's all I expect from him. What I find interesting, though, is that all of his people, and this is where the mind control bit came in that I mentioned the other time. That's why we're doing mind control at the moment. all of his people have adopted exactly the same strategy of dealing with anything.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is this. So if you watch his press secretary, like the lady that, that gives all the briefings, she is constantly on the attack.
Mm-hmm.
Continuously. Even when it's not necessary, she's on the attack.
Who's that? The press secretary?
The blonde girl. She's the press secretary, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Yeah.
She gives all the press. Sam Pam Bondi. You're talking about the press secretary.
I'm talking about whatever the blonde lady's name is.
Yeah.
She's constantly on the attack, and then the other day, the people were talking about the tariffs and such, right? And there's a guy, a reporter, asking, well, Donald Trump always says he wants to reduce taxes, right? So how does it square off with introducing tariffs, which are essentially a tax on imports, which is what they are? And she goes, no, it's not a tax on imports. It's a tax on the other country, and it's not. She's just wrong, okay? But it's okay. But then she goes, and I find it very insulting that you doubt my knowledge of economics, that you question my clearly your expertise in economics, which you don't have because you think it's not a tax on imports, where clearly, unfortunately, it is. It is absolutely a tax on imports, and the people that pay that tax will be the end consumer. So if Germany puts a tariff on American goods, for argument's sake, then the German people will have to pay their tax, because that's how it works. And if you don't like it, that's okay too. You don't have to like it. It's just the truth. It's just how the world works.
I understand the nature of the disincentive. It's a disincentive to purchase the product. I totally get it. Yeah.
But she is saying, oh no, it's not that. She used
the word tax in her own answer.
No, she the thing is, she's saying it's the opposite to what it actually is, which is clearly to me indicates that she has got no understanding. But again, she goes on the attack, and this is what Donald Trump learned from Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn made Donald Trump what he is today. Right? If you do a little bit of research into Donald Trump and the relationship with Roy Cohn, like in many ways, he was like a surrogate father to Donald Trump. Not in a bad way. I mean, we all need mentors. I think he was a great mentor, for that. But it is all about attack, never admitting you're wrong. That really doesn't make for good diplomacy, as we have now seen. This diplomacy is give and take, not demand, attack, demand, attack. We've gone back again. This is again 19th century gunboat diplomacy. When we sent our gunboats to negotiate. And what did Bismarck call it? War is the last step in diplomacy. If everything else fails, we go to war. Thank you very much. It's still diplomacy. It's just different.
Ballot box, and ammo box.
Ammo box is the last one. That's right. But that's more around civil unrest and the citizens, what the citizens can do and can't do. I mean, we do have the protest box. We have the ballot box, and if all of that doesn't work, then there's the ammo box. But that is really now talking about civil action that
It's a famous expression.
Oh, absolutely. So where does it leave us, though? I mean, where are we going with this? What's happening here? And the answer is, I have no idea. From one day to the next, I don't know. And I know maybe pride myself is the wrong word, but I really am a student of history, and I really like current affairs and understanding how things work and being able to explain it to my kids as well. But this, I tell you, I don't know what he's doing. and the market doesn't know either. That's why the market is, not doing too well. I mean, I lost a whole bunch of stuff of my super, right? Which is unfortunate for me. But no, it's not. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not great.
Our government is running an ad at the moment, and do you know how much is in your super? And this was up until the last couple of weeks, and then following that statement is only 40% of of Australians have even logged in to the system that holds their super. And I thought, well, that's an extraordinary thing. And then suddenly, it's tanking, and they've pulled the ad because they don't want, before an election, for people to see how much they've lost.
Exactly. I mean, ideally, what Albanese wanted, as soon as the rates came down, he wanted to call the election. That's right. That's what he wanted. Yeah, the markets haven't really improved for me, brother. I've lost it.
And then we got the tariffs, and he's gone to ground, and he hasn't called the election date.
That's right.
Because, oh no, hang on, more power. We're now savaged. I'd say another Rogering, but we're now savaged by the companies, not the power producing companies, but the one that oversees everything. They've said, oh no, that's the regulator. They've gone, oh no, our costs to go up, so it's between 2 and 4%. It's all going to go up. Really? Is it? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
So every single year, our private health insurance goes up, and I worked for a health insurer, and there was great debate over how much they should request from the oversight, organisation within the government who approves or disapproves the request, and there was much debate about how much they should request, because they don't want it to be dismissed. They want it to be approved without without being confronted why. Their brief should be certainly enough. So if everyone falls in the same ballpark, it's only the high and lows that get questioned. And this was always a debate, always a challenge to let's try and fit it all in because obviously you can't consult with all the other private health insurers, because that would be bad. So that's frowned upon. So you have to kind of independently do it on your own and hope you're in the sweet spot. When I see the market regulator for power that has no competition, that just goes, oh, that's what we're doing. Good luck with that. It's going to cost more now for some reason. I wonder who is their sponsor.
Well, that's a good question.
It isn't the current sitting government, I'll tell you that much.
No, absolutely. 100%. Now, we've got about 10 or so, 8 minutes.
Your time starts now.
No. How long do we have?
Well, we have 7 minutes.
Okay, great. I do want to end the first hour on a positive note. If not positive, at least interesting, and not that it hasn't been interesting thus far, but this is really, really interesting. Now, I'm not sure if anybody has seen this. This is a fairly recent development over the last couple of weeks or so. But scientists have turned light into a super solid. Yeah, this article was published on the 7th.
Can you paste it through to me, please?
I will, yeah, absolutely. Here we go. This is from Newsweek. I've got it from various other places as well. But essentially, what happened is, for the first time, I might want to add here, scientists have succeeded in making light behave like a super solid for the first time, a breakthrough that can improve our understanding of this exotic phase of matter. A supersolid has an ordered structure like a solid, but can also flow without friction like a superfluid. And previously, they've only been produced in so-called Bose-Einstein condensates, which you might be more familiar with, which are formed when a gas of atoms is cooled to near absolute zero, right, which is like really, really cold. And at absolute zero, nothing moves. All movement is arrested, because all movement requires energy, and if you've taken all energy out of the system, it's absolute zero. There you go. That's true. This is only the beginning of understanding supersolidity, said Italian-based physicist Antonio Gianfante of Siena Nanotech and David Negro of the University of Pavia in a research summary.
Do I get my lightsaber?
So I want to say
no.
No. Well, yes.
Yes.
it all depends on the power source, right?
Yeah.
But the answer is probably. But they made light into a solid. This is, I mean, so far, and this goes back to the double slit experiment as well in quantum physics. Of course, this is all quantum physics. Light was a wave, light was a particle, and now light is super solid.
Mm.
That's, I mean, it's hard to explain it, but it's just astounding to that we have managed to turn light into an object, because that's what it is now. It's an object. It's no longer something that we perceive or that bounces off of other things. It is now an object. Okay. Now, laser gives you a bit of an idea what a solid light would look like, you know, because a laser beam is fairly focused and it's like a thing, right? It has dimensionality, or at least it appears to have dimensionality, right? But this is now a solid, which means they've slowed down the photons. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm okay.
So.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you know, the speed of light is, guess what?
0.
Not really the speed of light anymore, is it? No, it's not.
I don't think it ever was.
No, it wasn't. But I think, and this is, this one is actually it's been everywhere. This is from Economic Times. This is from which one is this? Newsweek.
This is Newsweek, yeah. I have it on.
And then Interesting Engineering website also has it. But yeah, it is an astounding. I mean, if this was April 1st, I wouldn't share it with you, because this is truly astounding to have something like that happening. But what I'm saying, why I wanted to bring it up as well, Dave, is because with all the craziness in the world and all the things that are happening, we are still, you know, moving ahead, and we're still inventing things. Our science is intact. There's a whole world of stuff still happening outside the craziness. Right?
Yeah.
We are still, the human race is still marching, hopefully forward. You know, it's still marching, you know, to in a certain direction, and that's really great. And look, no matter if you love or hate Donald Trump, even if he were not a temporary phenomenon, even if he declares himself King of America, he's in his 70s. He's not going to live forever. Would the American people stand for him to be where he is? I think a big chunk of Americans would. Not all of them, by any means. I don't think they would feel the same about his sons or daughters, for that matter. So, you know, if this is the birth of a new royal line in the kingdom of America, which is all possible, by the way, which is going to spread to, you know, to Canada and Greenland, expanding its territory. It's a new empirical age, you know, the age of empires, potentially. The Russian Empire, the American Empire, the Chinese Empire, right? Other empires will spring up, maybe the Indian Empire, you know, who knows? Brazilian Empire, it could be a whole bunch of empires. And everything he's doing is very 19th century, but Dave and I talked about that as well, right? So, but with all of that, our scientists are still making amazing breakthroughs. And I thought that that'd be a nice thing to just take away from this. Because it is a headline grabber. I mean, the war in Gaza is over, Dave, right? There's nothing happening there anymore.
And Putin has agreed to the ceasefire, temporary ceasefire?
No, he hasn't.
That's what he said. That's what I heard today.
No, he agreed in principle.
Oh, there you go, in principle.
Which means...
Well, I think the idea is good.
He likes... he agrees with the idea. But there's lots of questions still to be worked out. So no, he hasn't agreed.
They haven't commenced a ceasefire.
No.
Oh, hang on.
No. Not even close. Because that would be very big news.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, so look... there's no. Here we go. U.S. rejects impractical Hamas demands as Gaza truce hangs in balance.
And America just bombed the Houthis again.
Yes.
In Syria. So you got to think about. I know the music's just about to start, but you've got to think about is all the rhetoric true, or is it just a facade? I think that's the message we have for all of us. If you like this, do like, share, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out with the algorithm. If you're listening to this through the live radio, there's going to be a short break. We're going to come back, and we're going to come back with Mind Control Part 2. See you outside.